Hi folks. So I was going to do a little blurb on the software update that came out because I sort of glossed over that in the last video, but there really are so few items on that of interest that I think I'm just going to skip it because there's another one due out hopefully this Friday, which would be March either Thursday or Friday. They've been releasing them variously on Thursdays or Fridays, so that would be March 29th or 30th. But I was able to get out for a quick ride tonight after work. Um, Once again, ran the Karoo, ran the Garmin. The Karoo is set up, if you watched the last video, the Karoo is now set up for my Stages power meter with, so the Stages is going to talk to the Karoo and, well, no, I would talk to the Karoo on Bluetooth. The speed sensor is still talking on Ant Plus, and actually, I forget how I have the heart rate monitor set up. I believe I have that set up on Bluetooth. So, and the other reason I'm doing this video is because, I've been, I guess not really accused, that's the wrong word, but there have been comments that, I'm kind of down on the product, and I don't think that's really the case. I think I had high expectations. Initially, those expectations weren't met, but if you've kind of scanned ahead or started looking at the screen while I've been yapping here, you will quickly see that things, at least on this ride, were very good. So I managed to somehow still miss hitting the buttons by 7 seconds. So the total ride is off by a little bit. The moving time is off because I still don't trust, my one complaint, I guess, right now, I still don't trust the auto pause feature on the Karoo. So I don't have that on. So this is me actually meeting up with another group of cyclists briefly and saying hello and getting caught at a stoplight. So the Garmin paused, the Karoo did not. But this is the really good news. So I don't know if this is a combination of me properly setting up the wheel circumference, or whether this is just they've done something to the software. I mean, there were some tweaks in the last software update that weren't really put in great detail. It just basically said stability and software tweaks. So this is off by 3/100ths of a mile. So that's a wash. Obviously, that could be any number of things. Everything else, I'm not sure why there's an activities list. I just noticed that. So work within 2 kilojoules. I mean, that's elevation is still a little strange. I didn't actually look at this in Strava to see if Strava corrected it, but I also didn't upload the Garmin ride to Strava. Normalized power, this is identical here, oddly enough, and I'm mildly annoyed by this. Both the Garmin and the Karoo showed 200 plus watts normalized for my hour and 15 minutes, but it's just neither here nor there, I guess. I somehow I lost 10 watts. All these things, if you're scanning ahead, average speed is much better. In fact, well, no, I guess, within 4/10 of a mile. I'll give that a pass. It could be any number of things. Average power is good. Average heart rate is identical. Max speed, within 1 mile an hour. Maximum watts, it always seems like the Garmin is recording high, and I don't know. Someone commented on the forums about, well, how do you know your Garmin is correct? And the answer is I don't. But what I do know is that, when the Karoo was having difficulties with silly things like average speed and those sort of things, the best data I had was the Garmin. So my assumption is that my preference right now is that the Garmin data is correct, and the Karoo data, if it's not the same or close enough, is off, and that may be an incorrect assumption. But good things like cadence, max cadence. Where's average? Average cadence is excellent again, and we'll see that in the charts in a second. And then power zones again. The ride was kind of short, and I apologize. I'm still not sure I have these set exactly right. So the reason that these are off could be that I'm off by 5 or 10 beats per minute on my max heart rate setting in both, and or 5 or 10 watts. It would probably only be 5 watts that I would be off, because I think I may have set the Karoo with the value that I ended last summer at, and the Garmin may have been where I started. I'm not really sure. So the charts, obviously you can see because you can't see any variations, that this is really good. Power is excellent here. There's a couple little spikes. That's the Karoo spike, but there's a Garmin spike, 5 minutes later. So who knows? Heart rate is excellent. This dropout here, as we've realized in previous videos, is because I was at a stoplight. So the Garmin paused, didn't record anything, picked right back up again, and the lines match. I could zoom in on some of these, if we wanted to get really into the nitty-gritty here. But I think, generally this is much, much better. There's a little spike here on, well, that's a speed spike, so that's interesting. And that's on Ant Plus. But most of the cadence spikes are gone. Let me go to the full ride so you can see it. There's a few here and there, but I think this one looks like maybe it's a Garmin spike. This one is almost definitely a Garmin spike. So, the Garmin's not immune to these little hiccups and blurps while it's recording either. Still don't know what that chart is. Here's the power curve. Here is the speed curve. The map's not going to show anything because I haven't figured out yet how to overlay the two tracks to see how much difference there is. All of these charts are a little bit crazy. This is good, and I chalk up these like slight variations to just, one's recording maybe a half a second past the other one. I really don't know what the difference is there. The heart rate chart is awesome, and shows very little peaking of either the Garmin or the Karoo. Speed's a little weird, but the speed ended up, as you saw earlier in the summary screen, the speed ended up so close that can't really blame either one. There's cadence, and then these are all, and I look at this, but again, I'm not sure, and I need to do some more research on which one this is showing. I guess I could turn off since the video is relatively short, I could turn off this and clear it. So this, let's go back to the summary quickly so I know. So the first one here is definitely, this is the Garmin, this is the Karoo. So if we go here and look, basically anytime there's zeros for cadence, there's also zeros for power. And I'm going to chalk like this little one up here. Probably I was, that I'm not even concerned about that. I think this is probably going downhill as I'm leaving my neighborhood. So again, 8 watts, no cadence, that's not really a concern. Mostly what I would be looking for in here are, in the situation that I was in, or what we were seeing in previous rides, was that there was power but no cadence, which is impossible. I think, well, not impossible, but it's very unlikely that I would be putting out 150 or 200 watts with a cadence of 0, and it was, was consistent there, or inconsistent in that the cadence would go from 80 to 0 to 80. But I'm not seeing any of that in here. Here's one little one, but now we're splitting hairs. Clearly based on the averages, and we saw that the Garmin had spikes too. So, just by way of full disclosure, things, at least this ride, were much better. There's a software update due on Friday. We'll see. We'll see what that brings. They appear to be on a 2-week sprint cycle with these, so the off weeks are just bug fixes and quick things that they can sneak in the other week. And this would be a sprint week. Would be would be a more significant update with potentially data fields. Not sure what else they're not really saying what they're planning to add, and I can't blame them for that, because then if they don't meet it, then they get beat up for not meeting it. So hopefully, the trajectory of this continues to go in a positive direction. It's going that way now. So if you've gotten this far, thanks for watching.